it's nice to have a helper out there that just takes care of things. I don't know how to always thank Anthony. We don't give him enough credit. I look to get things started, and Anthony's already on top of it. So good Saturday morning, guys. I'm just so excited about where we are. It's August. Remember this date, August 15th, 2020. I think, each time there's milestones happening in our company. There's things growing, so many things happening. And as we look back, it's what 2020, we'll all look back at all the horrible things that was happening in 2020 if you choose to pick that side of it. It's all a choice. You can pick 2020, think how horrible it was, or pick 2020 and think of all the positive things that have been happening. And I think that's your choice. And I'm going to start today. Brent and I are this is more shoot from the hip today. Brent and I got a little bit of topic and things we're going to talk about, but sometimes I think some of the best meetings are from just people talking from their hearts. And this morning I woke up really early thinking of a quote that I was given. Richard Tuggle may even know who gave me this quote. But first off, I commend all of you for being here, because so many people talk about making changes in their lives, and so many people talk about wanting something different. And I saw a quote that said, one day or day one. One day or day one, you decide. And that's as we go forward. There was something the guy told me that was probably my biggest mentor in network marketing. And the guy literally, when I say did well, I mean, he's noted as, and because of the FTC and everything, I'm not going to quote numbers. I will tell you the man did extremely well and owned his own company at one point. But he told me something I heard in front of the room, that when we're born, have you ever heard somebody say they're natural born leaders? I mean, I've heard that so many times. They're a natural born leader. Guys, I got news for you. There's no such thing. There's only one thing you know when you're born, and that's sucking and crying. Think about that just for a second. Two things you know when you're born: sucking and crying, because you want to nurse to live, and you cry to get more nursing. And then you cry when your diaper's dirty, and then you suck some more. Everything from that moment on is a taught and learned behavior. And if you've ever heard me speak in person, one of the things I always talk about is some things that happened in my childhood that caused me to have a different direction, and believe that I'm very fortunate that my mom, being such a positive person, taught me some very valuable life lessons. Here's the thing. My mom did not go to high school. My mom, we were country folks, never got past 8th grade. My dad neither went to high school. So I learned that education wasn't the most important thing in life. My parents did extremely well, but it was learned behaviors that caused that. So as we get started this morning, so how do we learn behaviors that change us? And by the way, some of us here have been around a long time. Some of our behaviors have already been taught, and it's more difficult to change behaviors as we get older. But I want to set the tone on the things that, what do I see? And Coach Palmer, I want you to really chime in on this as well. What do we see that causes a person, every time I see people in this industry who tell me they want it, they believe in it, they want to do it, whether it's the product they believe in or they want to change their lives, yet they want to go through life blaming, even in this industry. I see people blame somebody else for their own behaviors. And this same guy that told me sucking and crying also told me when I pointed a finger at somebody else for what they did, there was always 3 pointing back at me. So if you look at your finger when you point, I already see the little hand, there's 3 pointing back. So take responsibility is the first thing I'm going to say for your business. Now, that's probably not the most positive things I could say this morning, but I got news for you guys. Right now, RX and what's happening in our company is monumental. You don't have to believe me. You can say he's a network marketer, and that's what they always say. But for those that have known me very many years, I'm just telling you, I'm not that type hype person. I'm a business guy. I'm just my personality. I mean, I'm just that guy that just talks about what's going on. Over the next 3 to 4 years, lives are going to change in such a dramatic way because they engaged and did the little things that made their businesses grow. And I wrote this quote down, and I'm going to turn this over to Coach Palmer because I want to get his input on the things that we need to do. But if you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, think about this just for a second. If you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. If you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. Guys, our company is a rocket ship right now. I see it. If those that don't see it, and we're now publicly traded, which gives us all the credibility in the world. If you don't think that makes a difference, it does make a difference when you're talking to people. But RX is about to become, over the next few years, a $1 billion company, multi-billion. It'll be $1 billion. I wouldn't be surprised if it does it next year. It might even be more than that. But here's the point. It won't mean anything to you because, as I've said many times, I've known about big companies, but it doesn't make any difference if I wasn't engaged or I hadn't purchased, whatever. This has nothing to do with stock. This has to do with credibility and you building a business. So Coach Palmer, with that, we talked about some of the things people need to do, and we talked about we had such an amazing group in Arkansas, Richard Tuggle last week. I want to let Richard talk about that. But Coach Palmer, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know there's nothing like we texted about last night. So how's that for throwing you a curveball? Let me see how you respond.
Hey, I love it. I love it. No, and you were dead on, Chris. Happy Saturday, everybody. Give me some waves here where I get some go. You can't hear me, Chris. Am I coming through okay?
Great, Brent. Loud and clear.
I got 3 backup plans on Wi-Fi if I start breaking up. So I just want to piggyback. First of all, you said it best, Chris, in Arkansas. A lot of people look, we were a newbie to RX. We came from Limu, and a lot of people look at me and they go, here's a guy who gets introduced a lot of times as a guy that's made millions in the industry or whatnot. But sometimes we fail to stop and ask the journey. The journey. It's been a decade of almost of building a business and being very persistent and consistent with what we do. And to piggyback what you said, if somebody was here today and hopefully taking notes that said, I want to be I call it a lifer in the industry. Like I want to be a lifer in RX. Like I found the company. We're a rocket ship. We're going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. How do I get, I want to get on it, and then I want to get involved with it. My mentor told me years ago, Brent, first of all, you got to be a product of the product. And I guess one of the things I'd ask you this morning, everybody on here, are you someone that's putting RX inside of you? Yeah, you might be putting Limu inside of putting RX inside of you, like the products. We got the best of the best. So putting it inside of you is number one. That's pretty easy. The things that are easiest to do are also the things that are not so easy to do. Like we know 10 push-ups a day will change our life. So sometimes the most easiest things to do are some of the most hardest things to do because you got to be consistent. So putting the products in our bodies are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. Are you doing that? Are you a product of the product right now? From MOA to all the house of brands, like consuming it, redirecting your spending in it so you can be a product of the product. Number two is kind of twofold. You're either doing it or you're teaching it. And I'll never forget him telling me this. He said, Brent, if you will start enrolling customers and reps every month, like it's going to be tough at the beginning, but down the road, it's just going to be a normal thing, almost like going to the bathroom, almost like bathing. Like you go through your month and it'll become a normal thing if you start to do it and create that consistent behavior. And those things, although they're so simple, those things will allow you to be a lifer in this industry, a lifer in this company. And so when a company takes off and goes through momentum like we're experiencing right now with RX, and we just now started it, you don't miss it. Chris, I hear so many people like put bad connotations on companies like Amway, and it's kind of like I usually look at them and go, what's your story? Because they actually got involved and they did nothing. that company's a multi-billion-dollar company. Why didn't you get what you know what I'm saying? Why didn't you get some of that?
Absolutely.
We're sitting here today in a company. You know, I was on the phone this week with Chris Willis talking about the strategic strategy to taking this company to $2.5 billion. Like, they've already got the strategy in place. They've already got the owners of other companies wanting to come on board in our house of brands. And it's just a wow factor to me to know that we're here and we're listening and we know the strategy. They're going to get there. So what do I got to do? And that's exactly what this call today is about. It's how I can assure that I'm not going to miss this movement. So, Chris, that's what I'd add to what you had to say.
And so what I want to do, guys, is I think what Brent said is needs to be reiterated. When I joined this industry 19 years ago, something about the company, I had my first experience, first company I'd ever been involved in. I needed it. Didn't realize that it was not set up the way, anything wrong with the way nothing against the owners. They just didn't know how to run a company, didn't know how to set it up right. But most importantly, understand there was a day I got in that company. I can tell you what day it was. It's funny. I can remember on April the 9th. I mean, I still remember what year, 2002. I mean, just everything goes, I can go right back and tell you everything about it. But then there was the day that the company got into me. You know the difference? If you're a person of faith, it's kind of like the guy that goes to church because his parents make him to, and you're showing up at church every week. And then there's a day when you finally realize that, you know what, I'm not just here to sit here. I'm here for it to get into me. So there's a difference. And I believe the same thing holds true with RX or anything that you're doing in life. You have a passion for what you're doing. So how do you get to that passionate place? Part of it's a learning experience. And I'm going to bring up somebody that I want you to talk just a little bit. I brought them up. I've got a couple of people on here that I've asked to be on this morning to kind of talk about their journey and how. The first one's Richard Tuggle. He's got another thing going on. Here's a guy that I know is extremely busy. He owns a real estate office, has multiple agents. At the time I met him, when he started using the products, he owned a car lot, an auction house, he still owns. I don't know. I think when I rode around with him, I don't know how many rental houses he owns. It's so many rental houses that I don't think I drove through anywhere in the area that he didn't say, yeah, well, I own the house there, or my parents own this house here. He literally owns, I'm going to say upwards of close to 100 rental houses. So that's a lot of headaches to take care of. Has a crew that just takes care of them. Yet he got excited about the business. But I'm going to tell you what got him excited. It wasn't the products. Yes, he had a transformation. Yes, he lost weight, but that's not what I asked Richard to talk about today. I want Richard to talk about what changed. Why did he go from excited about a product that helped him feel better and lose some weight and get his health going the right direction? And he was, that was a lot of lifestyle changes. But what changed to him decide in less than 2 years, think about this just for a second, in less than 2 years, he's not only moved up the ranks, but he's on the partners council for this company right now. So Richard, kind of tell us what made the difference. What did you do that changed your thinking pattern?
Well, Chris, like I said, I got in it for the weight loss and the health part because I was very unhealthy. But then y'all invited me to go to Salt Lake City, and I had already gotten some money from this company, just people asking me for it. But like you said, I was way too busy. And so I just sort of walked out and was doing the business a little bit as I went in Walmart or whatever. But I went to Salt Lake City and met 3 of the 7 owners November 2018 and saw their structure. And, I'm like you, Chris. I've been in business all my life, and I sort of look for opportunities. And I got looking, I said, these 3 guys that I'm talking to, Mark Wilson really impressed me. They know where they're going, and then of course I came home and then went back in February, still was making some more money, people asking for it. And I felt great. I felt like doing some extra stuff, I tell you. And I took a harder look at that in February 2019. And spent about 3 hours on the comp plan with you guys and fully understood everything and met the rest of the owners. And And I'm going to tell you, it was just a no-brainer, Chris. Started shutting down other companies. I started making, I started doing better in this than I was those other companies that I had. And it just made perfect sense to me. And then I tell you what's happened since then. That's the best decision I ever made in February of last year was to put my hat with the RX because I know where we're going now. I tell you what, sky's the limit. I am so excited. Can't sleep at night.
Well, you just hosted another event. And I think that first event, I mean, I guess we've actually done 3 there at the lodge. One, we didn't really count a big event. We did it for our local group. But so what's the importance of plugging in?
Well, everybody, every time we have an event in Salt Lake City, I go, and a lot of my leaders go, and every time we have an event anywhere, and of course our convention next month in Fort Worth, got to be there. It's a game changer. But anytime you go and rub elbows with people who actually have made it, and you realize they're just like you. I mean, they're just like you. Matter of fact, some of them may not have as much talent as you, but they've made it. And you get to meet the owners and the establishment. Chris, it just gives a belief level. And everybody we've taken to these events, like here in Arkansas that we had, leave out of there renewed. They have a feeling that they're with the right company, and their business explodes.
Well, I think Brent's going to add something to that because I know that you've talked about, we just plugged all our groups together. Brent made his first event in Arkansas with us. That's the one we just did local event, and I know he's probably on the road today. So tell us what you feel about events and why you think they're so important for people to plug in. And just like the Saturday training, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's essential, and the thing about events, and Richard Tuggle, I had to give him kudos for putting on an amazing event in Arkansas because you just don't know the ripple effect it has. Like, I guess that's the thing I would say, Chris, there's a lot going through my mind, but you're sitting on this call today and you were born to win. Like you sit in a place in the U.S. or maybe globally, like in your own community, in your own town, that's waiting on you to be great. Like there's nothing different in you putting on an event in your hometown than Richard did in his hometown. He just made it happen. Sometimes you just got to step out past fear and go, dang it, I'm going to grow it right here in my backyard first. And I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to call on some leaders. And I guess that's what Richard did. It was so impressive. Now, amazing leader, amazing business person, but this is the second event he had. It was kind of like, build it, they will come. So he kicked off this event, and then leaders started showing up, right? You raise your hand and go, hey, I want to have it in my own backyard. Boom, leaders start coming on board. Then, Chris, it's like you're going to gain nuggets by plugging into this event, but what you really gain is a network. So we left the event in Arkansas. Now, I hope this I hope this draws it back home to you. But we left that event in Arkansas, and Myra Miles from the University of Tennessee, that's in my business, that has no financial ties to Richard. Richard Tuggle has no financial ties to Myra, but they connected at the event, even bigger than before the event, because they were both there in person. And then they leave, and Myra Miles within 3 days has Richard Tuggle on a prospecting Zoom with a prospect of hers, and they enroll in the business. And Richard helps them close the deal. Okay. Now get this now, the person is in Arkansas, 30 minutes from where Richard lives. So guess what Richard said? You can plug into my group. It will help you. That's the power of this industry. But every one of us in here on this Zoom today, Chris, lives in a different part of the United States or the piece of the world that could use you showing up and creating an event in your own hometown. And if you'll just raise your hand and go, hey, I can put people together. There's going to be people come, and you don't know the ripple effect. So it's just amazing event in Arkansas. But again, it's how you build this business. Chris, you didn't know me. I didn't really know you. But this time last year, I'm not even sure if we had ever spoke.
No.
And today, if Chris called me, I'm in Louisiana today sharing the business. But if Chris called me today and said, I need you, my family needs you, I'm on the road. I'm headed that way. And that's powerful. That's really, but that's where events and coming together really makes that a strong unity.
And I want to add something to that. You know, this company, I'm telling you guys, is different from the culture. I hope it stays that way. Obviously, as we get larger, I can't promise. But I can tell you right now, the culture of our company is an amazing one that people pull together and work together. Brent and I are cross-line, and Myra and Richard are. So they're not on each other's teams yet. What are they doing? They're working. And I can promise you, if not Brendan, but if Richard has someone in the East Tennessee area or in the North Alabama area where Myra lives some of the time, she's going to help him because the favors return. So it's a real team effort to make that happen. And guys, here's what I want you to realize. When people say to me, you know, who plugs in? Well, sometimes I hear people say, well, they're on the call because they're making money. Are they on? Is that the case? Or are they making money because they're on the calls? Are they plugging in? I can name off so many people. It takes so much to put the events together in Arkansas. So I talked about Richard putting on an event, but he couldn't have done that event without his team. I mean, we could go down the list. I see Merle on here, and I see Terry and Susan Glasgow on here, and I see the Coopers on here. I don't know who all was on that helped with that, but there's so many, and I won't leave anybody out. I mean, I will. I've already started calling names, so I've messed myself up. But it's a group effort that pulls for a common goal. And I guess that's why Myra, I think one of the reasons that she does so well is that she's been around coaching. I think that's why coaches do so well. Is because it's, you know, I may play offense, but I want my defense to play good. And I may play another position, but I won't, you know, there's certain guys that's going to be, you know, Brent's obviously a quarterback, and he's a guy that's helping run that offense. But I assure you, he likes the linebackers too because he needs them to do their job. So some of them are not football people, but for us, it's you got to have everything. You got to have a whole team to really build something special. And guys, I didn't know he was going to be on here this morning. So here's the thing: when we talk about people plugging in, and we may have lost him a second, but I'm going to check. Guys, you don't know this, but probably the #1 power ranker in the United States, and has been for literally weeks, months, and years since I've been in this company, is a guy named Steve Swartz. And Steve, he's on our call.
Hey, Chris.
So, I mean, can you believe that? But think about this. He's on vacation somewhere else. Yes, Brent?
Well, you were about to mention Steve Swartz. You know, another great example of a guy a year ago that I didn't know. He's like one of the #1 income earners in the whole RX company. And a year ago, I mean, I'm a newbie. Like, I'm this guy that's just coming in. Yesterday, he's getting on a plane, been on vacation, and reaches out to me via text and says, hey, how are you doing? Just checking on you. And you go, so here's my point to you this morning, and Chris, I'll turn it back to you. But you're on here. I hope this is like a aha moment, like a nugget moment, because how have we connected through events, okay? Through events. So Richard Tuggle started an event in Arkansas, I believe, Chris, a year ago. It was like a small event. Like, it was double the size of it this year. So if you were looking on social media, you're like, I can't do that. Well, you see, if you go back to the first event, it wasn't that size, but he was willing to do it. And through that, you're going to make connections. And Chris, it goes back to the culture of this company. To have somebody like Steve Swartz that reaches out to you, just says, hey, just checking on you, how you doing, because of a connection that was made. When you got leaders that create that type of culture, you got an unstoppable team that's going to take over the industry.
So I'm going to bring up Steve. I had no clue he was going to be on here, and I thought somebody might have snuck into the room using his name. until I text him, and he said, yep, I'm on your, actually, I believe he texted me, I'm on your call. I'm like, yes, you are. So Steve, I know you weren't prepared. He's like, I think he had to run grab. I said, why don't you speak a second to us? Because I met Steve, if you don't know, he is my upline. And I met Steve 7.5 years ago off of a phone call that he followed up on because he heard of a company that needed some leadership, was looking for a home. And listen, Steve is the most resilient, most hardworking. I've never seen anything like him. He's a freaking machine. And when I first met him, I'm like, how did this guy, he kills it. We are not going to talk incomes here, but I can assure you, Steve is doing extremely well. And I think, I'm not even sure, he finally got out of the country because he just wanted a place to go. So I think he's on the beach somewhere. So but Steve, do you mind talking to us just a minute about how important it is for people that are wanting to build something special, be consistent, but more importantly, why they need to plug into the events?
Yeah, well, hey, welcome. I just got back last night, so I just put the covers over my head and went to sleep and woke up. So yeah, I did Cancun, and I did 2 different places in Riviera Maya and then in Cancun. So it's pretty cool. I, broke it up with 2 different places, and it's interesting, when you're there on vacation, and I definitely wasn't calling prospects and things like this. Now, back when I was beginning, I probably would have been on vacation calling prospects. I mean, at this point, I didn't need to do that. I wasn't doing that. I was touching base. As a matter of fact, I just got a text from a guy who said, let's talk Tuesday. So I think the big thing is, and so when you're in that situation, and the reason I jumped on the call, I was like, okay, now it's time to get back. Okay, you've had enough of the lifestyle of the fat and not famous, but I mean, eating all the food at the resorts, woo, I have a couple more pounds on me. And then I was like, my gosh, all right, so here we go. So I was like, okay, so let's just plug right back in. Let's get back in. And so, you guys are providing the platform. You're not letting your egos come into play. You're not letting your ego say, well, this is my team and that's my team, all that stuff. Because I've been doing this now for 20 years. I've seen everything under the sun and how people basically self-sabotage their own business by letting their egos get in the way. And as you start to build, in the beginning, it's like you're doing it by yourself. It seems like, how can I get up to that level, or how can I go to the next level? And you have to just, even with all the stuff, this, the new age, and we got all this, and then this thing's here, and then all of this, keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Follow your system you're using now. Follow the system. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're doing, we're getting people to transform their health. They're losing weight. They're getting more energy. They got MOA, Slenderize. You got, Blue Frog. We've got all of these things happening. And you keep it simple. And you do that, and then all these other things will come into play later. And, if you bought the stock, that'll come into play later. You just go and focus now. And so that's where you got to get back to, right? And that's where you got to stay in the eye of the needle, I guess. I'm an Army officer. I coach football, so I was a quarterback as well. But at the end of the day, you got to basically stay at the tip of the spear, meaning moving forward. And that's where you're getting customers, you're getting reps, and you're helping other people do that. If you're spending a lot of time on other things, you're wasting your time. So stay plugged in here, get off these calls, find a way to invite someone else to look, and that's where you got to stay, and that's why I wanted to plug back in, because I'm like, okay, yeah, enough. And by the way, vacation's cool, but I was like, oh, enough already, I'm good. And so it was fun, it was cool, it was an awesome experience. But this business, you can pick it up and run with it, and you can make it happen. Then you can also benefit. You have the rewards. I was talking to somebody, I actually made like 3 sets of friends. Well, one was not really a great friend, but I met we met people, and people that have traditional businesses, and they're starting to have success. And so you could see them out spending money at nice resorts, things like this. But at the end of the day, those people don't have a residual. They really don't have a residual income. So even though it sounds like a big business and the bookstores and all these different things that they have and success, I'm like, yeah, but like, your business could go like that. And it's not a reoccurring income. So don't take anybody who thinks this network marketing businesses aren't huge businesses are as crazy, because the amount of sales that go on inside an organization are so much bigger than anything you see on like the Shark Tank, all this kind of stuff. Like this business is going to be a multiple billion-dollar business. And the great part is it's you and I doing it, like people like ourselves doing it. And so keep pushing forward. We all have setbacks. I have people that weren't interested. I have people that, whatever happens. The best thing that happens to you over time is you stop worrying about that stuff. You focus on what you want to have happen. I'm telling you, design exactly what you want to have happen. What type of people do you want joining your business? And then your business will start to look like that, right? Like say, okay, I don't want a bunch of drama. I don't want all this stuff. Because I've been a part of all of those things, right? Like where, you're placating to everyone's little needs and all this stuff, and it becomes a nightmare. So remember, I always say be an asset, not a pain in the ass. Okay, so be an asset, right? And so how can you help your upline? How can you help your team member? How can you help the company? How can you, and I always go back to the sports analogies, is my dad was an old 38 years in Division I sports, ran major programs in football and in overall athletic programs. And he was always like, the best coach can think like the player, and the best player can think like a coach. And so that's kind of how you have to think. You have the best reps can think like a rep and also can think like an owner, and they can have a medium. Okay, I can see why they're doing this. I can see why they're doing that. But let's keep the main thing. And that's getting people to look at our business, people invited to the next Zooms, getting people to your meetings, and do all of it. And that's where you're going to have massive success. And there's a lot of room for growth throughout North America, throughout the world. And so it's perfect timing, I think, and excited to be here. So you guys, great job.
I'm just glad you jumped on. I didn't know you were back in the States. I thought you were still at the beach. I've been seeing your pictures. But I think what people need to realize is, and this is in no way making anything, I can say this about a lot of different people. If you get out with Steve, you're going to have a great time. He's not anybody you're going to be overwhelmed with his amazing knowledge or his amazing charisma. Great guy. We love to have a good time. And Steve and I get together, we have fun. But I will tell you something. His resilience and his determination to go do something different in his life than be, as I think was it Doyle Computers that you work for?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
He didn't want to be there anymore.
I mean,
and I think that's where it comes down. As I see people, one of the things that, as I get frustrated about, and it really drives me crazy, is that for people to make excuses when they got just as much talent and just as much ability, but they work hard at what they do. I think Coach Palmer could address that as well as anybody. If there's anybody that works hard, I think high school football coaches, probably, it's unbelievable. They're the most underpaid people. I mean that. My son played high school football. I watched the hours these guys put in, from mowing fields to keeping uniforms clean, besides the things that parents expect to take care of their kids and keep. Guys, that's the key thing to understand. But working hard doesn't always pay off if you're not putting it into the right tools. And Steve mentioned the word residual. For those who don't know, my background has always been business. And I have been made in conventional business world lots and lots of money. And if I was offered to go back, even though NAFTA killed me, if they told me today all of it could be undone and I could go back in time and take that company back, and I'm talking about a company that paid me multi-seven-figure income, I wouldn't consider it. Why? Because two reasons. One is the residual income, and the second part that I never knew I was missing, and this is the one you're going to be surprised about, the relationships. The relationships of the people that I've met that want to do what I want to do, and they build a business. So Brent, why don't you address that? And let's talk a little bit more about Dallas. You may want to bring somebody up.
Yeah, I will, Chris, and Steve really, you and Steve both kind of made me think of this, and Richard Tuggle. Relationships are forged in this industry by action. It's if I were to ask you, I always I think this goes back to coaching, like you got to look at yourself, okay? Whether I'm looking across at Michael Whitten right now or Andy Craig or, Carlton, let me ask you a question. Like we've got a company that's exploding, a company that's going to be a multi-billion-dollar. But if I were honestly like on your shoulder, like and you knew I could see what you did last week, did you actually, and this is just real, let's just have a raw, real conversation. Did you plug a prospect in to someone else? Like I call it a two-on-one. Like, did you get somebody on the Zoom with you, one of your buddies in this business, and a prospect? Because that really is the simplicity of this. Like, if you're not doing that, then you're not. So the reason I say that is because maybe a week or two ago, I not everybody can call Steve Swartz and get him on the call with a prospect. But me and him's got a relationship now, like we connected. And so I actually asked him, would you jump on a Zoom with the prospect? And we did. And a guy that's built a pretty big business in the industry. And he took time with that guy. Now, whether the guy does the business or not, it's up to him. But that's the way you grow the business. And that's the way you create these, what Chris was saying, these crazy relationships that you look up and you go, man, I got your back and you got my back, but it's forged through those two-on-one moments of a prospect and Chris Doyle and myself on, a Zoom or stopping by a coffee shop or doing an event together. Does that make sense, Chris? I mean, do you want to add anything? Like I just want people to understand, like, this business is, I'm not that smart. Like, I was a high school football coach that was $20,000 in debt, broke as and by the way, being broke sucks. But that's where I was. I didn't have $500 to do this business. So I'm not one that builds my business thinking, oh, I've made millions. No, I remember how broke was. I want to get as far away from that as I can ever get. And there was one thing I learned here along the way. Just get new people in front of this. And I will assure myself to always build a business here. But I think we got to self-evaluate, Chris, every week. Like, am I doing that? Did I do that last week? And if the answer is no, it's okay, but get back on the saddle this week.
I'm convinced that's probably the biggest reason coaches are so good is because you guys are used to having a bad night and the team losing, and you've got to come back up the next day and do it again. And that's what they do. I saw several posts about people talking about it's such a team effort. And Susan Glasgow posted about so many people that worked on that event. There's so many people behind the scenes that don't get credit for what they do to put an event on. It's more than Richard and I really set the place up. I mean, Susan and kind of headed up a group of the Coopers. So many I could talk about, Betty Brand. I mean, we could go down the list. I mean, it helped so much. Here's the thing. We're all a team working together for one what? Common goal. One common goal. As a matter of fact, most don't know that I was so sick, I told y'all this week, but yet I called on others to take care of some things to make things happen for this event. And I don't know if he can get on or not, but here's the crazy part about these plugging in is I have no idea they were going to be on our call. So here we got somebody and I don't know if he'll even talk. He might not want to unmute himself, so I may get in trouble, but I'm going to ask if he'll do it. Guys, bottom line is that Aaron Decker's here. Aaron and Dr. Ginger. Now, Aaron Decker's got one of the biggest businesses in the company, and yet on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, Aaron Decker don't have to be on this call. He's been a guest for us. I've begged he and Dr. Ginger to be guests for us many times. Yet Aaron, on a Saturday morning, we're talking about a guy that has got some of the, if you look at the power rankings, not only are you going to see his name, what you don't know is multiple other names are his team members. Yet on Saturday morning, he'd probably rather be on his horse. He loves riding his horses, and he loves doing things on his ranch. But he's not where he wants to finish at this business. So what's he doing? He is listening. He is here trying to pick up what I've heard Brent call it, a nugget. So, Aaron, you want to unmute? You probably don't. And if you don't, I'm not going to say a word. You're good with that. It may be where you can't unmute.
Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I just up and saw Aaron's iPhone. And so I know I'm just calling on you out of the blue, but I think it's incredible to think about this. Now here you got in the North American continent, you got two of the top 5 who were not invited or begged. I've begged Aaron many times to be on the call. He's always usually too busy. Yet without notice, he just jumps on the call this morning. So Aaron, Talk about an event coming up in Dallas or anything hey, listen, I'm not going to tell you what you talk about. You're building too big a business. You just give some people some nuggets. People love your calls and what you talk about.
Chris, it's simple. Leaders are learners and learners are leaders, right? And that's what it boils down to. And that's why Steve's on here. I mean, I'm always learning from Steve and Brent and Chris. Guys, Richard, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who. I can learn from anybody. I love brand new people. I probably learned some of the best things from people that are just getting started because it reminds me of the things that I need to train and coach and teach other people on. Because if somebody's having an issue, there's 100 other people having that same issue, right? Getting started. But you guys, I'm multitasking, right? Like I've been on the phone all morning with new people that are just getting started in the business, kind of coaching them through whether they're customers or new teammates. I've got a kid's birthday party here and there's horses out front. Ginger's in the office. She's doing some training with another group. But you guys, here's the thing. You can make excuses or you can make money. You can't do both. And that's cliche, but it's true. I mean, I'm picking up stuff from Brent. I'm listening to Steve. You want to talk about leadership. Guys, here's somebody that doesn't have to take time, wake up in the morning and get on a call. He's the one that should be teaching us all. He's the one that's got a massive business worldwide and he's masterful at what he does. So if I'm brand new, and I'm not going to say anything else, but if I'm brand new or if I've been here a while and I haven't had success, maybe listen to what's going on and why are all these people, it's not a coincidence, you guys, that people that are helping the most people, which means in turn probably making a little bit more money, are plugged in whenever and wherever and however they can. If you aren't in Dallas, you do not understand what you have your hands on. I'm going to say that one more time. If you are not going to Dallas, guys, it's an investment. It's an investment of time and money. But most importantly, it's an investment in you and the people that you're responsible for that you help get started on products or in this business. Thanks, Chris.
Aaron, I appreciate you hopping on for a minute. I didn't expect to see you this morning. So I'm going to make a comment about what Aaron just said. He said about being in Dallas. I'm going to take you back in time. It's 2002, just joined this industry. And I was told those exact words he just used, that if I wasn't in the Nashville event for the company's first, it was not their first, but one of their conventions, that it would make, it was going to be totally, it would change my business. And I went to that event. It was about 800 people there. And I sat very much in the back with my notepad, trying to figure out this industry, something I knew nothing about. And yet I walked away, not telling you that I had all the answers, but what I did come away with was some relationships with some people there that I realized were just like me and people that were looking. And what I learned later in life was is that if you had to figure out what kind of company and what I wanted to do to make this work, that it wasn't about my cute, it wasn't about my smarts, it wasn't about my background. They could have cared less that I'd been successful in another business. All it came down to was me making a decision to plug in and do the things that I needed to do to build a business. And so I keep looking across here. I mean, I don't know what's going on this area. Y'all got me a little intimidated. There's so many leaders on here. And I see someone that's business from Arkansas. There's just so much going on that it's like, goodness, guys. I mean, these Saturday morning calls, for those of us that started with me on this call a little over a year ago, when I started for Richard Tuggle's group, we had 15 to 20 people on a Saturday. And I don't know if you know this or not, guys, but we have hit 1,000. Now, this is not this Saturday because, you know, when you pull a Deanna in and she's promised to come on, and Mark Wilson's going to be on soon, by the way. And we've also got the new CEO, Brent Willis, committed to doing our Saturday morning. So these Saturdays are about you learning and how you can do the things you need to do. But I want you to know this, Aaron Decker is blowing it up. But see, I know when Aaron Decker was calling and saying, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, I don't have the answer because I don't know what I'm doing wrong. We would talk about what we weren't getting done. We were cross lines to each other. So guys, I want to highly encourage you. If you're not, I know the Canadian folks can't get across the border, so we're going to pipe you guys in. And so we're going to make sure that you get to come in from Zoom and get to steal through the virtual part. We'd love to have you in person because I see so many of you on these Zooms, and I'd love to. I'm a hugger. I like to see people in person. I want to, you know, say hello in person. I'm just my personality. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that as much as we want but we will. We'll be back to what we call, I'm confident in the future it's going to happen sooner. I'm hoping sooner than later. So Brent, have you got anybody you want to talk to or bring up? I mean, Coach Miles was there, and I mean,
yeah, Chris, I want to say something about the event too.
Yeah.
So the SKU numbers in the back office, it's like, I don't know, 90 something bucks to get to the event in Dallas. As tomorrow night, there'll be a call at 8 p.m. with Rick Redford and some other people talking exclusively about the event in Dallas. But Chris, let's just take a moment, since Aaron brought it up, like, and again, you know, in the U.S., like the importance of getting there the 18th and 19th, we're sitting here, if I just pulled it up, the ticker of Apple stock. If you were sitting there 15 years ago and knowing what you know today, and Apple stock closed Friday at $459 a share, okay? Knowing what you know today, if you could go back in time 20 years and they were having an event in Dallas to talk to you about how you could be a part of the explosion, would you miss it for $90? Would you miss it for a hotel room? Would you miss it for a plane flight? Here's what I'm telling you. I know there's a lot going on in the world today, but I know this, we're not promised tomorrow. Okay? Here's what I do know. We've got a company that finished out Friday, closed out about $2.12 a share. We've got a CEO that's talked about a strategic strategy to getting it over to $2.5 billion over the next couple of years. We can see in the front of us what all is happening in this company over the last year. And if you're brand new, over the last 90 days. Dallas is a must, if at all possible. But it's kind of like, Chris, we can get off this and we can choose to take action or not. The question is, I go back to you on here, and it's exactly what Aaron Decker said. I'm looking at each one of you individually and going, is your ticket booked? Have you went into the back office and purchased that night? Like, that's the first step. And if you didn't, I would highly recommend, like, as soon as this call's over, you make that first commitment, because you need to be with us in Dallas. There's going to be rollouts. There's going to be things. You're going to sit at the front of that. And Dallas is one of those events, could be absolutely that launching board to your future of being a part of this massive growth. So get there. Tomorrow night, we will do a talk just exclusively about that. But Chris, it's just one of those moments where it's just that pivotal place. Dallas is special for a lot of reasons. I know you know that, Aaron knows that, Steve knows that. But I think it's very important that we're doing these Zooms. We love each and every one of you, and we want you there with us. You know, it's kind of like when you look at a prospect in the eyes and you say, let's team up, let's do this together. Will you do this with me? My question for you, like individually, is, will you be in Dallas with us? You put it in the chats. I'll be there. My ticket's booked. Like, you got to get it in you, okay? And Chris told you, Nashville, Tennessee is where his whole everything changed. And he can remember the date and the time. Dallas is going to be that for a lot of people.
There's no question. I've seen lives change. And the other side of it is there'll be people who make excuses. And the second thing I will tell you to add to that, not only should you be there, find one team member to ride with you. If you're brand new, find you one person, just one. I remember getting 3 people to an event the next year. Guys, I went myself. The next year I took 3. Isn't that crazy? 3. And I was so pumped about 3 people. Guys, that's what it takes, is to get your people seeing what you see, knowing the direction that you want to go. The last thing I'm going to add on to this, and Brent, you want to add anything to this? I had someone else I thought was going to get on, but they didn't get on with us. But guys, the thing I want to tell you is that success in this industry has a lot to do with understanding the moment you're at in time. I have been doing this full time for 19 years. I know a lot of people that have been in multiple network marketing companies, have jumped in and out of companies. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm great. I've been in with two. First company I loved the owner, loved everything about it, and I did extremely well. Changed my family's life, got us into a place I never dreamed possible. But here's what I learned. I learned how a company, I learned some lessons there about how a company needed to be built. And when I selected RX, it was because of, not from hype, wasn't because of any kind of product or anything that I could get rich tomorrow. It was about me learning about what was needed in the industry. And guys, you can put this one down that I said it on August the 15th. Within 5 years, RX name will be so well known, not only on the New York Stock Exchange, it'll be ranked in the top 10 network marketing companies in the world. I believe it with every ounce of energy I've got. And if those of you who've been on my team for a while will know I haven't made that statement. There's not one person on here who can say I've said that. I may change it to number 3 in the top 3 within 5 years, but I'll guarantee you they'll be in the top 10. What does that mean? Multi-billion-dollar company set up to go long-term. A company is only as good as it is able to pay you. So I don't care what you've been around. If the company is not around to pay you and can't make it work, it doesn't matter. And why I'm so excited about our opportunity with this company is that the design and the way these guys are focused. Guys, there's what you don't realize is you think the announcements we've had over the last 60 days are amazing. You give us another 6 months. What's coming, and I don't even know all this coming. I just know I see it in the owners' faces, but I do a few things that are coming because we're on the Partners Council. Guys, Brent, could you ever say that you've never been in ever been in the position as you are right now in life? And I'll let you close this out.
No, without a doubt, Chris, I've never been in this position. And like you, I'm on the Partners Council to see some things, hear some things. And I think just be quiet and listen to people that's getting it done. I'm talking a lot today, but most of the time I just keep my mouth shut and just try to take notes and listen. And when we joined RX, I started getting excited about it, but I had no clue about us going public, no clue about any of this to come. So for me right now, it's just the hardest thing for people that's built a business in this industry to do is to go back, kick the trophies up under the table and say, the hell with them. I want to go build new, right? I want to go win a new championship. And I think that for me, Chris, right now, that's my focus. So if you're new on here today, I'm starting new with you, going, I want to prospect every week. I want to enroll reps and customers every week, every month. I want to show up to every Zoom I possibly can. I'm not missing an event. I'm not going to miss an event because I've never laid eyes on anything like what we got in our pocket if we choose to take it out and use it. Chris, this blows my mind, and I'm just not going to miss it for my family, for my kids, and for their future, for me to leave this legacy to them. And I hope you can hear it in my voice. Like, this is not hype. This is what I see. And this is what we're running for. And me and Chris talked about it the other night, late one night on the phone. We were like two coaches getting ready to go play a game. And we said, you know what? The company just blows my mind. But when I look around the room and I see Chris Doyle and I see Todd Rowland, I see Steve Swartz and Aaron Decker and the rest, I could go on and on and on. The rest of people in here, I go, man, this is like, we can't take this for granted. We're birds of a feather flock together, and we're attracting the best of the best. And if you're betting on that, that's what you really need to bet on, because we're about to build this championship caliber team that more and more people want to be a part of. And you can just feel it. You can see it. The culture's right. And man, we're gonna help a lot of people win here.
You know, Brent, I told you to close, and I can't stop thinking. When we were there in Salt Lake City, we were at Mark Wilson's house, and I got a conversation with Fred Cooper for a few minutes alone. We talked about a couple of things. And he said, do you realize and Steve would really be a person to go back there. Steve started with, he called it with just a few products on day one. So I'm certainly not as bad as Steve, but I joined this company in its 14th month. 14th month. There was a lot of people that looked at me and said, and even Fred said to me that night, you might have been stupid to join us. And looking back, I wondered, maybe what was I? And I said, no, Fred, you convinced me of your vision. And guys, that company had only done about $14 million that first year. And do you realize right now that we're on pace this year to be $550 to $600 million? Put that in perspective, guys. And we did it without some kind of hokey jump. I don't mean it in a rude way. It's not any kind of one little thing. That company's built on true foundation with a group of brands. And as we go forward, we're so thankful to have Limu. You see me drinking my Burn right now. Never heard of Burn. But I sure like Burn. We got 6 cases in the fridge. I'm not going to run out of Burn, but I didn't know about Burn. But that's the thing I want you to know, guys. If you will focus on the end, and here's the good part: when we added our purifier, I'm not talking about the air purifier, the cleaner, guys. It was like a ticker tape. So get your foundation built. As the company goes to the next level, you'll see that growth. So. I'm sorry, I just can't help myself. I am so excited. I've been sick. I finally got a little energy back this morning after that food poisoning. Food poisoning is no fun, trust me. Even though I did lose about 9 pounds in 3 days. And you know what's the most amazing part? I never missed a meeting. I did have a guy tell me that I was no longer red in the face. It's the first time they'd ever seen me yellow. And I guess that's a good sign that I was really sick. So my face is back to good pink and red now, so I guess I'm back healthy. Guys, thank you for being on this morning. We're going to finish this. It is an hour. Next Saturday, I'm not sure who we'll have. We have several guests on the lineup besides Deanna, as well as I told you, Brent Willis and Mark Wilson. So we're going to bring you some powerful ownership and management people on next Saturday. So anything else, Brent, before we go?
No, we're good. We're good. Hey, plug in. We'll put the flyers out on MOA Challenge, RX Nation across tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Time Zone. We're going to be sharing some what will be coming to you in Dallas. I know Rick Redford's in Colorado right now. He will be back on the Zoom tomorrow night sharing some things, to plug into that. And guys, we love you. We appreciate you. And the future is so bright.
Absolutely. Have a great Saturday, guys. Enjoyed having you on this morning. If I can ever help any one of you, know how to get in touch with me. Call me. I'll be happy to help.